On Larry King Now, Oscar winner Billy Bob Thornton.
The best thing you can have in your arsenal as an actor is knowing who you are. I think I've pretty much stuck to my wheelhouse as an actor. When I'm working, I don't worry as much. You leave me without work. It's like people are always wanting me to go on vacation to the Bahamas and stuff. That would drive me out of my mind. I would last 2 minutes. The idea of sitting on a beach just listening to the ocean is a recipe for disaster in this head.
Are you political?
I don't talk about politics publicly much because I don't know enough about it. In other words, I don't feel qualified. So it's not like I'm skirting the issue, but I call myself a radical moderate. I guess the only thing that I'm against are extremists.
Plus, your reputation. You're known as a badass in some circles, right? But I've never found you that way.
That's probably one of the most common misconceptions about me.
All next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. Our special guest, Billy Bob Thornton, one of my favorite folk. He's the Oscar-nominated actor and Oscar-winning screenwriter, director, producer, and musician. Recently nominated for an Emmy as Outstanding Lead Actor in the miniseries or TV movie for the FX series Fargo. How did this... congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Is it ever old hat to get nominated for you?
It used to be. It's brand new again.
Brand new again.
It's... I've never been in the Emmy world whatsoever. It's my first Emmy nomination, and I got to say, it's kind of invigorating because it is a new thing, you know. So I'm as excited as I was when I was coming up, you know. It's been
Actors are doing a lot of cable, because cable is the place now, right?
It really is.
And the internet.
Yeah, definitely.
Everything. It's all new, right?
Never thought I'd see the day, and it's amazing. All the film actors are clamoring to get on television now, and I think a lot of the reason is because in the movie business, the sort of $25 to $35 million studio adult dramas don't really exist much anymore, and the sort of higher budget independent films, the ones that were made for $10 to $15 million, now they're making them all for $3 or $4 million, and so TV has kind of taken that spot, you know, and if you want...
The argument against it used to be get it done rather than get it right.
No, that's true. I mean, when I started out, we all started out in TV, you know. I mean, you took whatever you could get. And when I was coming up, TV was seen as this sort of less creative thing because of the speed of it. You had to just do a couple of takes and move on because you had...
That's changed?
That's changed. It feels no different than making a movie, really.
Tell me about Fargo. Now, it was a famous movie. The Coen brothers did the movie. They also produced the television show, right?
Yes, they're executive producers of the TV thing, and I had worked with them a couple of times over the years and know them pretty well, and that was one of the important things to me going into it was, did it have their stamp of approval, and it did, so...
So you play Lorne Malvo, described as ruthless, sinister, evil, and cruel. Some suggest he's the devil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see him as God and the devil. It's funny, there was a journalist who was interviewing me from Europe who called my character the protagonist. And
Really?
I said, well, that's interesting, because sometimes people do start to kind of root for the bad guy in a way.
Yeah.
Probably because it, you know, perpetuates the story, I mean, I suppose, but it was, the great thing about the character and what appealed to me about it, he has such a weird sense of humor, a very dark sense of humor. And I think without that, it would have been less interesting to me because I don't want to just go play your standard bad guy. But he's a real mischievous...
It's not like the movie, though, right?
Well...
It's a departure, isn't it?
It is a departure in a sense, but one of the things that you can't deny is that this really was kicked off by the Coen brothers. It's got the same tone as their movie, it really does. And Noah Hawley, who wrote the series, managed to make it its own animal and yet still capture the spirit of the Coen brothers.
We're going to talk about them, but let's see a clip from Fargo.
In my experience, if you let a man break your nose, then next time he tries to break your spine.
Saint, no way. I mean, I don't think. It just, I guess I embarrassed him in front of his boys.
You embarrassed him?
You know, he was telling me about a time where he and my wife, they were, but he didn't know she was my wife is the thing. And when I told him,
This man slept with your wife, and you're worried about embarrassing him.
not slept. No, they didn't. He said it was just. She has soft hands, see, and I guess.
No, mister, we're not friends. I mean, maybe we will be someday. But I gotta say, if that were me in your position, I would have killed that man.
What makes the Coen brothers special?
Well, I think they strike a chord in people because it's a way that we all think. It's a way of seeing the world that most people can't articulate, but they can. You know, they have a way of putting it into words and actually putting it on film that no one had done before they did it. Although a lot of us have that sense of humor because once you see it, it's like, oh yeah, I understand that. That's the way I feel. And they just found a way to put that out there. It's one of those, it's almost like an intangible thing that, you know, we can't quite grasp. Somehow they bottled it. You know?
Your reputation is you're kind of known as a badass in some circles, right? But I've never found you that way.
That's probably one of the most common misconceptions about me. I'm a pretty ordinary guy.
Yeah.
And somehow along the way, I think in the press it's easy if you say something or do something that sounds like a good sound bite or whatever, then it becomes a thing with you. And it's not that I haven't had my moments throughout my life, but I grew up kind of rough. So there was a time, you know, my late teens, early to mid-20s when I was in a pretty rough crowd.
You wouldn't have picked out that you would be the Billy Bob you are now.
Probably not.
After the break, Billy Bob on Labels That Follow Us and Prejudice in Hollywood. Stay with us. Billy Bob Thornton, he stars in the FX series Fargo. He's made so many great films, including one of the funniest comedies ever made, Bad Santa, right? The best.
It was a lot of fun.
For some people, you're always going to be the guy married to Angelina Jolie. Does that bug you?
Oh, no. I mean, there are worse
you were
things.
married to
yeah.
her.
Oh, yes, I was.
And I love her.
She's great. She's a great person, great artist, and no, our time together was fantastic. And when people say that, I mean, sometimes people say, does it bother you when people come up and do impressions of you from Sling Blade? But as the old adage goes, you know, it's like, no, it's when they don't do that when you're in trouble. So.
You said you didn't think you were good enough for her. Is that true? You're friends, right?
Oh, sure, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, maybe that's too severe of a statement, but I've always had kind of a natural insecurity anyway, so I would probably say the same thing about any woman.
You seem so secure. You do.
I think as an actor, you develop a way to seem
Your aura
secure.
is secure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm secure in my work. That's for sure.
When they say, the man says go, you go.
That's right. That's where I feel secure. But in ordinary life, not as much. You know, I to this day, when I go to a party at some fancy party or whatever, you know, I always feel a little bit out of place.
And the last time I saw you was at a fancy.
It certainly was. Maybe the fanciest one I've seen.
Beautiful
in a
house in Malibu, unbelievable. And that's right, you sort of step back.
Yeah, I kind of go over in the corner a little bit, yeah.
Henry Fonda said, when you're between scripts, you're nervous. You always want to see something. And sometimes when he played Mr. Roberts on Broadway, he couldn't wait till it was 8 o'clock. He couldn't wait to be Mr. Roberts.
Right.
You get that about roles, too?
I think so. It's one of the times, probably the only time in my life when I am able to not be in my head too much and worried and everything. You know, when I'm working, I don't worry as much, and you leave me without work. It's like people are always wanting me to go on vacation to the Bahamas and stuff. That would drive me out of my mind. I would last 2 minutes. The idea of sitting on a beach just listening to the ocean is a recipe for disaster in this head.
Agreed.
Yeah.
We were both in the same. We were both in primary colors.
That's right.
That's right. You were an Arkansasian, right?
Right.
Fan of Bill Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
Love Bill. Right?
Yeah, Bill's terrific. Yeah.
You were born on the same. You have the same birthday as President Obama.
As
right?
Obama, that's right.
Do you feel any kinship? I mean, if we believe in horoscopes, you have similar personalities.
Right. Yeah. I thought that was interesting that we had the same birthday, the Leos in August. Yeah, because I really feel like him sometimes, like when the times I've been through things with the press or whatever, and I see him going through that, so I certainly understand that part of it. And Bill Clinton also was born in August, also a Leo. And I knew Bill over the years, some, you know, being from Arkansas, and my girlfriend, my partner Connie, read me something very interesting the other day. People are on Obama about taking too many vacations. So she looked it up, and it said that he'd taken something since he'd been in office, 61 vacation days, and I think Bush had taken at the same point in his career something like 181 or something like that. So she was saying, I don't know why they get on him so much about that. And then I said, who had the least? Turns out Bill Clinton had 28 vacation days to this point.
That's so logical,
Yeah.
if you know Bill, right?
Exactly.
He's one of the great political. Are you political?
I don't talk about politics publicly much because I don't know enough about it. In other words, I don't feel qualified. So it's not like I'm skirting the issue, but I call myself a radical moderate. Which I have very strong opinions, but I take a little bit from each whatever side. In other words, I don't. I guess the only thing that I'm against are extremists. You know what I mean? I'm not.
You hate hate.
I hate hate. That's exactly right.
You said that there's a prejudice, one said, against the South in Hollywood.
I think so.
Seeing them, what, as all rednecks?
Yeah, I mean, I'll put it to you this way. You don't see many Southern actors or actors from Texas or whatever playing a guy from Long Island or Boston or whatever, but you see plenty of people from Boston or Long Island playing people from the South. So I think it's a little harder probably to get the work, you know. And some people might say, well, yeah, but you've got that sort of Southern thing underneath with your accent and everything. But if you've seen some of the people from other places play Southerners, it can be pretty bad.
We'll be right back with Billy Bob Thornton. He stars in Fargo on FX. Don't go away. We're back with Billy Bob Thornton. You're going to be 60 years old, huh?
I will be next. I just had my 59th birthday last week.
You struggle with dyslexia, right?
That's right.
You still do?
I still do, yeah.
How do you overcome that, like when you read scripts? You invert words, right?
Dyslexia is an odd thing. It's hard to describe to people exactly because people think, oh, you get letters mixed up, but it's even more complex than that. Because you have trouble reading and because things do look funny to you, you don't retain what you read sometimes. And I have people, my assistant does it, or different people, they read it to me and I listen. And sometimes with one sort of trouble comes another strength. I memorize lines very easily.
You do?
And I can speed read.
Oh.
So a lot of people who are dyslexic can do that. So I can look down a page really quickly and tell you what it says, but to read it left to right very slowly like normal people, I don't remember what it says.
You wrote Sling Blade, right?
Yes.
Are you writing other things?
I haven't written in quite a while, mostly songs lately. I like to write songs, so I've been doing a lot of that.
Well, why didn't you follow up Sling Blade with more movie scripts? That was an incredible script.
Well, I wrote a couple, but a couple that were made, but nobody ever really saw them. They were smaller movies, you know. And also, I'm really influenced more by Southern authors, like novelists, you know, Faulkner and Erskine Caldwell, people like that. So I think my type of movie, the kind that I would write, I'm not sure how successful it would be these days.
I knew Caldwell, by the way.
Oh, did you?
Interviewed him. Quite a guy.
Oh, it's one of my favorites.
When did you want to be an actor?
I was actually more into music growing up than I was movies because I lived in a small town. I mean, I was in the South in a little place, raised in the woods. Well, I was originally lived in a place called Alpine, Arkansas, which was 110 people. Then moved to a town called Malvern near Hot Springs, and that's about 10,000 people. And that's where they had a movie theater, the Ritz Theater. But the movies that we saw were things like Dick Van Dyke movies and, you know, whatever Disney had out at the time or whatever. So I watched movies as a kid just like for entertainment. You know, Martin Scorsese can tell you every moment of every French film and all this kind of thing, and I didn't grow up that way. I didn't know that stuff because we didn't have it all. So I really didn't seriously consider being an actor until I came to LA. I came here to play music and whatever, and I ended up in an acting class.
Like Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
He played guitar.
Exactly. Yeah, that's all I wanted.
And you ended up in an acting class.
That's exactly right. The only person I even remotely knew out here when I got here, a friend of mine, still a good friend of mine today named Jeff Lester, he was in a class and he got me in there. And
you liked it, obviously.
And I kind of, well, I was in drama class in high school, but I was only in there because there were a lot of girls in there. And I didn't make very good grades, and I figured, well, you know, how hard can drama be? Maybe I'll get a C, you know, or something. And so that was my only experience at it. But I went in this acting class with a guy named John Woodlock at Crossroads of the World over here on Cherokee and Sunset. And I didn't know what to do. He said, you know, you come audit the class or whatever. You come in with a monologue or a scene, and I didn't know any scene partners, so I did a monologue. And I wasn't sure what to do, so my buddy had some Shakespeare books, and I looked through them, and I decided, you know what, I'll do like Andy Griffith used to do with his comedy records.
What it was football.
Exactly. And what I'll do is I'll rewrite Othello, and I'll play every character. And that's what I did. So I played every character in Othello, including Desdemona, but I played them as modern-day people. And after 40 minutes or so, the acting teacher stopped me. He said, how much more of this is there? I said, oh, about a half hour. And he said, well, go ahead and sit down. We've got to let some other people in the class do some stuff. And after class, he came up to me, he goes, I've never heard anything quite like that. Where'd you get it? And I explained to him about Andy Griffith. And he said, well, come back and do it and do the rest of it next week. But just so you know, from now on, scenes and monologues are supposed to be 3 to 5 minutes long. And that was my...
The beginnings of Billy Bob.
That's right.
Who was Maude Treadway, and why was she an important person in your life?
She was my acting teacher, my drama teacher in high school.
And you still think of her?
I do. I was kind of a troublemaker in school and not real attentive. And like I said, I took the, the drama class just to be in there around the girls. But I used to write short stories during drama class, and I guess it kind of got me thinking about doing that kind of thing. And she caught me writing and not paying any attention, and she said, what's that? You're writing, why don't you share it with the class like they always do? And I said, I'm just writing a short story. She goes, okay, Mr. Smarty Pants, then why don't you write a story and we'll let you put it up on the stage and you can direct it and put the actors in it and everything like that.
Wow.
And I did, and I did it a few times in her class, and she said to me, most people are only in my class just to take a class. I think you can really do this. And you ought to think about this at some point because you have a natural ability as an actor and a writer. And she was the first teacher I had who encouraged me to do anything. Most of my teachers were just happy to get me out of their class, and she was very encouraging to me.
I can see why you think. You just completed a movie called The Judge with Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall, right?
Right.
What's it about?
It's really a sort of a father-son story, and I think that those are timeless. You know, there's a thing about fathers and sons that we all have.
Who do you play?
I play the prosecuting attorney. Downey is a defense attorney. His father, Duvall, is a judge who is actually on trial in the movie for something, for a crime. And his son's there to help him out, but they have a very bad relationship.
And you prosecuting him.
And I'm prosecuting Duvall. And Duvall's like my mentor in the movie business, so it was kind of odd, you know, to to be there with my mentor prosecuting him in a movie, but I have to say I had fun doing it.
Have you turned down a role you regretted?
You know, I've turned down a couple of roles that I regretted in the moment, and later I was glad I turned them down. But I would say the things I've passed on, it turned out to be a good thing that I did.
Even though the movie may have been good?
Right. I think sometimes the best thing you can have in your arsenal as an actor is knowing who you are. And I think, you know, I always say if they're making a movie about Charles de Gaulle, get a Frenchman. You know, I'm the wrong guy. So I think I've pretty much stuck to my wheelhouse as an actor.
Are you always seeing scripts?
Sure. You get things all the time. I was sent something this week that was a perfect situation for me. It was a really good role in a movie that I think is going to be very popular, and I just thought I was the wrong guy. I wanted to do it, and
Why?
I think there's a better person for the part out there, and I actually think I know who it is.
Billy Bob, an interesting guy. We'll answer some of your questions on our final segment. We'll play a game of If You Only Knew. He stars in Fargo on FX. Don't go away. We're back with Billy Bob Thornton. We have some social media questions at Roxy Cat via Twitter. What was your most difficult scene in Fargo?
Probably the scene in the pilot where I have a guy in the trunk in his underwear. It was the very first scene of the show. It was so cold when we shot this thing that I couldn't even open my mouth, but it was really painful to see the guy in his underwear having to run through the snow like that several takes. It was just, I don't know, it was like nails on a blackboard, but he was a Canadian, so he was used to it.
They don't care. What was Monsters Ball like as a shoot?
It was actually very heavy, and the mood on the set, I think, reflected the movie. I mean, we all took it very seriously.
A hell of a movie.
Oh, thank you.
At Sarah N tweets, was your mom really psychic?
Yes, my mom, I grew up with a psychic mom. And
You couldn't lie to her, she knew where you went?
Hard to sneak in the house drunk, yes. The movie The Gift that stars Cate Blanchett that I wrote with Tom Epperson is actually loosely based on my mom.
At Keysox via Twitter, what are you most drawn to, music or acting?
I look at them as the same thing. It's all an artistic expression, so I love both of them equally, I'd say.
At Steve-O24 tweets, do you know how accurate the events shown on Fargo were versus what really happened? Because it's based on a true story, right?
Well, that's a common misconception. It says that at the beginning of the movie to give people the feeling of the true crime story. It's actually not based on a true story.
That's the Coen brothers.
Right.
Okay. At Shaz Del Monte via Twitter, will you direct another film soon?
I don't know. It depends on if I feel I'm the right guy for it. I don't have a burning desire to be a director, but if it's something I feel I know inside and out, I'd like to. Yeah.
Hawaii 50 Sandy via Instagram, have you gotten any more comfortable being around antiques? You don't like antiques?
Not big on. It's mostly about the old ones from the King Louis XIV.
Well, that's what antiques are.
Yeah, I know,
They're
right?
old.
They are, but I mean, I'm talking about really old ones. In other words, I'm okay with something from the 50s.
Do you collect anything?
I collect baseball memorabilia mainly. I'm a baseball guy. Music and baseball memorabilia mainly. But I got a lot of baseballs. I've got Bob Gibson, Hank Aaron, a lot of people. Yeah.
I got a lot too. That's great. Alex Flores via Facebook. What are your thoughts on the new Tom Petty album? It's #1.
And I'm so proud for Tom. He's a great dude and a great songwriter. And I haven't heard the record yet. I haven't bought a record in a long time now. I don't keep up much, but that's the first one on my list, and I'm sure it's amazing.
It's his first #1.
Oh, I know. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Okay,
we finished the show with a game called If You Only Knew. Okay. You remember the first girl you ever kissed?
Yes, a girl named Trudy, my cousin's best friend.
Trudy?
Yes.
This was in Arkansas?
Yes, it was.
How old were you?
I think I was maybe 10 or 11.
Childhood celebrity crush?
Suzanne Plachette.
She was a terrific girl. Guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure. Saved by the Bell.
You're stranded on a desert island. What three things do you want to have with you?
The Allman Brothers live at the Fillmore East, Humble Pie rocking the Fillmore, and oatmeal.
Do you have a secret talent?
I can wiggle my ears.
Wow, I can't do that.
Yeah.
When was the last time you cried?
The last time I cried,
During this interview.
the last year's World Series, when the Cardinals got swept by the Red Sox again. Yeah.
Oh, Arkansas, they're all Cardinal fans.
Everybody in Arkansas.
Harry Carey.
That's right.
Yeah. I understand everything. I'm a nut baseball fan. Who do you root for now? The Cardinals
Oh,
still, right?
they're my team, yeah.
They're funny this year. I can't get a read on them. A lot of injuries.
Unbelievable, yeah.
If you could be anywhere in the world, where would you be right now?
Probably on the couch watching the Cardinal game. Yeah.
Anything you regret?
Yes. Not asking Sarah Silverman out. I had the chance, and I didn't do it. This was, years and years
Would
ago.
have been fun.
Yeah, it would.
What historical figure would you most like to meet?
Benjamin Franklin.
Best piece of advice you ever got?
Listen to people, but don't pay that much attention. By Johnny Cash. He gave me that advice.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Billy.
Thank you. Good to see
Billy
you.
Bob, all Southerners have three names, right?
That's right.
Billy Bob. Thanks to Billy Bob Thornton. You can find me on Twitter at King's Things. We'll see you next time.